Welcome back, and today we're going to work on quadratics, factorizing them again. This is case 2 where the second sign in our expression is negative. So that's where in our example below we have a minus 6. So let's get into our example. So we're factorizing x squared minus x minus 6. So we've indicated our second sign in our expression is negative. So therefore our signs in our bracket are going to be different. So we're going to have a plus and a minus. Doesn't matter if we want to set it up as minus and then plus, because if we do 2 times by -1 or -2 times by 1, both are going to be -2, right? So it doesn't matter which way you want to set up your brackets. When we're looking at this case, we know that we're looking in the cases where we don't have an a term, so we don't have a number out front of our x squared. So we can write in our brackets just simply x squared, x and x. So we have x plus and x minus. I'm going to recopy our expression just down here so I can see it throughout all my work. Now we want to write all the factor pairs for the last term again. So this is for that 6. So we've done this before with the number 6. We have 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. But this time we want to subtract them to get the middle. So last time we added, this time we're subtracting. So 1 minus 6 is -5, and 2 minus 3 is, well, what's that? That's -1. Well, hey, that's exactly what we're looking for, is -1. So you've got to be careful here, though. This time the order does matter a little bit. So notice we have a +2 and a -3. So we want to have +2 in our brackets and -3. If you so happen to write the factor pairs, and I'll do this on the right in green, if you so happen to have written them 6 and 1 and 3 and 2, and you found when you subtracted them that they were 5 and 1, and say you wanted, say we know we wanted the negative, we know that we could just switch the signs. So we could write them the reverse way. So you could write all 4, or you could write 2 and just know that you have to reverse the signs if you get the wrong sign on it, but the right number. So at this point we have finished, but like I said, this is writing the order on the 2 and the 3 is important. So we're gonna move on to our next example, or sorry, practice problems. So I'm gonna go through the first one just to make sure that you're kind of on the right step. So here we're looking at our second sign, and it is negative. So we know that our signs are going to differ. So right away, I'm going to write it down here as x plus, and then as x minus. So we've kind of taken care of the first few steps. So we're looking at that last term, that 5. So we know the only way to get 5, because it's a prime number, is 1 times itself. So here, we can add them together, or sorry, not add, right? Subtract, and we're going to get -4. All right. So that's -4. Oh, that is actually what we're looking for. We wrote it the correct way. So we know that we have +1. So we can just write the 1. And we have negative which? -5, right? So I'm going to leave you now to the next 4. So if you'd like to pause the video now, and then we'll take up the next 4 once you're back. Okay, so we're looking into this. So now that you've done all the questions, notice that our second sign for all these is negative. That's mostly because we're in this section. We're doing case 2. So, and all the coefficients are x. So I'm going to do what I did last video, and I'm going to start off by writing all of my brackets and having their signs in them, just to save some time after, because the parts that change are the parts that I'm mostly focused with, so you can see the difference between the cases. So, we have an x plus and an x minus with all of these because that second sign is negative. It's only one way that two numbers can multiply to get a negative, and that's if one is positive and one is negative. Okay, so now that we've done this, let's look at that second problem on the page. So we want two numbers that multiply to get 4. So we know that we have 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Now, because it's case 2, we're subtracting. So here we find that we're at -3. Here we find we're at 0. So we're looking for +3. Now notice we have a +1 and -4 here. We're actually going to swap them, and I want -4 and, or sorry, not -4. I want 4 and 1, because that's going to give me 3 in the end. So here we know that we have +4, -1. But notice from here, from the first little part here, which I'm starring, that we could have just swapped the signs there. We didn't have to write that out. So that's what I'll start to do, so you can start to take these little shortcuts. Well, what are the numbers to make 12? We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, right? So let's subtract them. So we get -11, we get -4, and here we get -1. Well, there's our 4 with this row, but that's 2 minus 6, and that got us -4. We went +4, so we're going to go with the opposite, which is -2 and +6. Going on to number 4, well, factor pairs of 8 are 1 and 8, 2 and 4, subtract them, we get -7 and -2. Well, we wanted -7, so we're going to leave that. We're going to have +1 and -8, so +1 and -8 in our brackets. And then our final one, what two numbers multiply to find 9? Well, 1 and 9, and 3 and 3. Well, what happens when we subtract these numbers? Well, 1 minus 9 is -8, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So we have -8, but we wanted +8, so we know we're going to just take the opposite signs. So we're going to take -1, and we're going to take +9, and call it a day.